Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from, and a warm welcome to all. You have joined the first technical session for Module 7, Video Production Basics, which will address the basic tools needed to produce videos for your museum. This is the 7th module of the Digital Empowerment Project, a nationwide initiative organized by the 6 U.S. regional museum associations that is dedicated to providing free, self-paced training resources for small museums. This inaugural series of online trainings and resource toolkits focused on digital media and technology topics is made possible by funding from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. My name is Zinnia Willits, and I am the Executive Director of the Southeastern Museums Conference. My pronouns are she, her. I am a light-skinned white female with shoulder-length reddish-brown hair. I'm wearing black-rimmed glasses that are often referred to as cat eye style. And today, I'm wearing a black sleeveless sweater, and I'm sitting in front of a backdrop of my home office, which consists of a desk and a few computers behind me. As the host for today's session, I would like to convey a few things to our attendees before we begin the program. In this era of virtual meetings, when digital spaces may substitute our physical sense of place, it is important to reflect on the land we each occupy and honor the Indigenous people who have called it home. Today, I am speaking to you from Charleston, South Carolina, the historical homelands of the Natchez Cusco peoples. Wherever we are, let us acknowledge all Indigenous nations as living communities, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. We, the Digital Empowerment Project team, recognize that our organizations and those of our members were founded within a colonizing society that perpetuated the exclusions and erasures of many Native peoples throughout the United States and beyond. We ask that you reflect on the place where you reside and work, and to respect the diversity of cultures and experiences that form the richness of our world and our profession. Thank you. Now it is my pleasure to introduce today's presenter, Luke Mahaffey. Luke is the Media Services Coordinator at the North Carolina Museum of Art in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he has been on staff since 2014. He's currently the video producer for the museum and serves as part of the marketing and communications team. As a Raleigh, North Carolina native, the museum has always been a place he's called home. He graduated from East Carolina University with a double concentration in media performance and media production, where he met his wife. 4 children later, Luke is still excited to call the North Carolina Museum of Art his home and glad to grow with and contribute to the museum and its offerings. I have enjoyed getting to know Luke and am thankful to all of the time he has devoted to this session. Now I'm pleased to turn the floor over to Luke Mahaffey to begin our session.
Thank you, Zinnia. I am so excited to be here and just get to share what I've learned in the video production world. So I did want to start off with a sample of one video we did a couple years ago, and it just sort of gives a good broad overview of the North Carolina Museum of Art, of which I get to be a part of every day. I think working on this team here as the video producer, it really gives me a broad range of people to get to work with. We have an education department, we have catering staff, we have conservators, we have curators. There's so much that happens here at the museum. And I just thought I would start off this presentation with a quick video to give you sort of a 90-second summary of what we do, and then we'll dive into the presentation following. So here we go.
We are the North Carolina Museum of Art.
And we are
librarians,
the marketing team,
nature enthusiasts,
storytellers,
exhibition designers.
We are art lovers and caretakers.
The special events department,
Park police,
information technology,
the registration department.
We are writers and editors,
construction supervisors,
art handlers,
gallery educators,
fundraisers,
accessibility advocates,
curators,
the financial arm of the institution.
We are virtual educators,
park staff,
conservators,
a dining experience,
students,
volunteers.
And we are builders.
Unique, creative.
The face of an institution.
Here to make the place look good.
Vibrant.
Growing and moving. Hardworking.
Resourceful.
Passionate.
Cool. We are food and beverage.
We are security guards.
We are membership.
We are housekeepers.
We are designers.
We are Raleigh's artful shopping destination.
We are the stewards of truth.
We are the eyes and ears of the museum.
We are guardians of the people's collection.
We are protectors.
We are sustainers.
We are cultural ambassadors.
We are the North Carolina Museum of Art.
So this museum, it was started in the 50s, in the 1950s, and we moved into this building that we're in now, that last scene on the video, in the 1980s. And since then, we've expanded. We've built a whole nother building, and we keep growing. We have about a 164-acre campus, and we're kind of right on the west side of Raleigh, North Carolina. So we have a great location. There's just a lot of things to do, a lot of things to see, whether you're coming inside to the museum to see a lot of our special exhibitions, or whether you're just enjoying the weather and strolling around the outdoors. We have sculptures, we have programming, we have concerts, we have a movie screen mounted to the outside of our building. So we have a very unique position to serve the community and allow the entire state of North Carolina to enjoy not just artwork, but the arts. So I'll keep going in my presentation. And I wanted to talk a little bit about one of our programs that we had just this past summer. We partnered with PBSNC, and they brought in an army of people and trucks and vans full of equipment. And we did this thing called Music at the Museum. There was probably about 7 or 8 different musical groups who came in and performed in our gallery in the West Building. And they sounded great. They looked amazing. They were very talented musicians. And it was a neat partnership. So PBSNC, what they did was filmed these, but we also pushed a live stream across our YouTube channel so that during the pandemic, everybody could enjoy music at the museum. And it was an amazing partnership. But I wanted to talk about a lot of the technical parts of what we did. As you can see from this photo, there are numerous cameras. There's colored lights all back in the gallery. There's tripods and a jib on the front left. There was a team that worked on audio. There was a network engineer. There were truck drivers. There was a creative director, a technical director, and it was kind of a sight to see. For me, being here at the North Carolina Museum of Art as a one-man operation, I don't have an editor. I don't have a camera crew. I don't have a lighting tech. It's me to do a lot of what we do here. I do get to recruit help for larger shoots, but what my job was for this was to promote each and every show. So each group would come in and they did one dress rehearsal. I would film that dress rehearsal, and then we would upload that video to YouTube, and then people knew it was a promotional video, so they could come and watch the show. Or they couldn't come and watch the show, they could tune in and watch the live stream the following day. So I wanted to just show a quick example of what I shot so you could see everybody else's equipment. And then I thought really it would give the viewer who's watching this behind the scenes appreciation for everything else that everybody else is doing. As I kind of threaded the needle and came through those 2 camera guys, I don't have any audio playing because I wasn't sure if I would have Charlie Smart's permission to share this song. He was really good, but we wanted to give a good experience in about a 45-second range of what the performance was about and just their style. So all of those pieces of equipment, it really does add up. You can see all the cables and stands and ladders and everything that's just all over the place. And I said, I don't know that I need all of this. I'm just going to use one camera. I'm going to get my one shot. I didn't even make any cuts. And I tried making that the theme throughout each of the videos. Start really wide, just kind of do a creeping in shot or kind of move around the performers so you could get a feel for the entire space. And I use this camera to do all of those videos. It's a DJI Osmo Pocket, and it shoots 4K video. When I looked up to the price a month or so ago, it was only $150. So I just wanted to reiterate, and I will continue to reiterate, you don't need millions and millions of dollars worth of equipment to make something look good and to share what's happening inside your museum with the world. So I do want to start off talking about why video. If you're watching this session, then you probably have recognized there is a benefit to video over just still images. Still images are everywhere, and if a picture is really 1,000 words, then 1 second of video can contain up to 60 still images in that one frame just to show the motion. And I think there is an understanding of this in most people's amazement of just entertainment world. There's movies, there's TV, having something where you can string along a story, you can understand a character, you can really just watch something unfold right before your eyes with video. And that's why I think it's really special, and that's been a good tool to see how it resonates in whatever platform we're releasing a video. So before you ever hit record on your camera, if you're a video person, if you're looking to hire a video person, if you're in marketing and you want to start creating more video content, you're really in the right place. We're gonna cover a whole bunch of stuff rapid fire starting right now. Okay, so the first thing is, what is the purpose? What do you want this video to convey? Do you want somebody to like click on something after they finish? Do you want them to feel a certain way? Do you want them to make a donation? Do you want them to just have information? You need to know what the purpose of this video is before you ever hit record. And it's also really important to know the target audience. If it's donors, if it's visitors, if it's your staff, is it a preschool class? You need to know who's going to be watching this video, because that's going to help you with the second point, which is what's your story? How are we going to get there? So the first one, why are we doing this? What's the goal? Where are we going? And then the second one, how are we going to get there? You can usually use a story or some type of creative avenue to get your point across. In the intro video that we just watched, we basically used all of our staff's own voices, and we had them in their own words talk to a microphone, and we recorded them saying, here's what we believe the museum is. This is what we feel like our role is here. I'm not just a housekeeper, but I love to do what I do. I love that I get to work in a place like this. We are all of these things. We are so the story really kind of captured itself of these are our staff's voices telling people what they do. And then the last thing is, what tools do you have? Just like a chef has a kitchen full of tools, a mechanic has a garage full of tools. If you're doing video, you want to know like what resources do I have to get this job done? And I wanted to show you an example. Okay, so that was one example of tools we had were mascots who we wanted to come to our museum, and we knew that we were going to promote March Madness basketball season, but we wanted to let these mascots roam around in our museum, looking at different artworks that had a ram or a wolf or the color blue. So the story was, let's get them in the museum, and they're exploring it and they're discovering it and they're seeing all this stuff for the first time. The resources were, we had people, we had partnerships with close by universities who also saw this as, hey, this is a cultural experience for us, and this is a way that we can just go be at the museum. And then the goal really was to just create excitement and to ride the hype wave of March Madness. Um, so other tools that I think we're gonna get now deeper into when you look at video production is cameras. Um, that can be anything on this list, all-encompassing cameras. It can just be a smartphone if that's all you have, but we're going to do a little bit deeper dive into types of cameras. Another component to think about when you're looking at video production gear is storage. So media, what are you going to record to? Some cameras have an internal storage drive, but most of them you've got to put a SD card in. Once your SD card fills up with all that data, you've got to know where it's going to go after that. Is it going to get dumped on a computer? Once your computer gets full on video, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to back it up to a server? Are you going to upload it to a cloud? You really need to know, okay, this is one component that's going to need to be considered. Another thing is just stability. If you have a tripod or a monopod, something that really just makes your video look smooth and stable and professional, it increases the quality of it instead of just, if you have a cell phone and it's really shaky video, I'm sure we've all seen those. Um, that's just something to consider. Do we want to invest in stability for our videos? The next thing is lights. There's a bunch of different types of lights that you can get. And I would just work with what you have. If you have work lights and they're in your facility's garage, then use the work lights that you have. Lighting is one of those really underrated components to video, and you can make it look dramatic. You can almost tell a story within the lighting portion of a video. Another thing is to consider is power. There's not many things that you would be doing outside with no power at all, but if you are doing something that requires batteries, you just want to make sure you're charging your batteries. If it's camera batteries, whether it's batteries that you can take portably to run your lights from or to run your gear from, you just want to make sure that that's being thought about. And I would say that audio is probably the most important thing to consider in video production, mostly because I'm not sure about StreamYard, but Zoom, I think, also will prioritize audio. If there's an interruption in the data or the network gets a blip, it will make sure that audio is still coming through, even though the video, may have freeze framed. And even, back in the olden days when we had telephones and only telephones, you couldn't see anybody's face from a camera. It was just listening in to audio only, and you can get a lot of information across with audio. So you want to make sure that everything is sounding good. If you're doing an interview or a talking head video, you really want to make sure that there's intelligible audio coming through. And then the last one, I'm sorry, I don't think this is the last one. One more after this. There's post-production things to consider. Do you have any kind of video editing that's going to happen? Once you get your audio, once you get your video, all your lighting and everything looks good. It's recorded onto your SD card. You've dumped it onto your computer. Does anything else need to happen to it before you upload it? Did somebody say a curse word in there that you need to edit out? Did somebody trip or mess up? Then okay, when we need to put it into the editing room. This can be a full-time person job all in and of itself. So I would encourage you to look into what video editing looks like and can consist of, as well as we'll go over some free options at the very end if you don't have the funds to install and download high quality video editing software. So one thing that I've really had to kind of wrap my brain around is the structure of a shoot. If I have a band coming in, or if there's a lot of moving parts, and I know that I can't be everywhere and I can't carry all of my stands and all of my cameras and all of my lights, I gotta get some help. So that means there needs to be workflow. I need to train people. I need to make sure everybody who's gonna volunteer or help out or get hired as a contractor to come and help with the shoot, I need to make sure they know what they're doing. So that's an investment as well. And how are you gonna do that? So you really can spend a lot of money accessorizing your gear list, and that's kind of just what some of these things are. The list goes on and on. There's more to this, but if you get into it, you know, the list just adds up of things that you might need. So instead of spending $1 million, you can kind of get by in today's world with technology to create content without breaking the bank. So my questions when I was first getting started in the video production world were, well, what camera do I need? What kind of microphones? Well, what kind of lights are best? And what I found was, if I didn't have somebody telling me, oh, you have to use this brand, or oh, you have to use this lens, I just found that YouTube was my friend. I would get online, I would do a search, I would see what other people, what other institutions, just kind of compare and see what's working. And I really got interested in seeing someone use a $200,000 cinema camera right alongside, you know, Apple iPhone 8 or 9, and they would shoot the exact same videos, and you had to pick which one was the $200,000 camera and which one was not. So uh, I would just say these three buckets are the big investments that you would want to start off in: getting a good camera, whether it's a smartphone or not, getting a good microphone, and having something to light whatever it is you're shooting. So types of cameras, we'll just go over these. Smartphones, as I said. Camcorders, that's what we started out with here at the museum. We had one Canon Vixia camcorder. It shot full HD, and that's pretty much it. But it was what we had, so that's what we did a lot of stuff with. Cinema cameras, they're meant to have a lot more professional settings, and you can add on batteries or export, you know, data via an SDI connection. There's a lot of things that you can do in a cinema camera to tweak the settings. Mirrorless cameras, that's what we've started using a lot, and these are not a DSLR, but basically if you look at the lens, the sensor is right inside, and I'm actually going to try and show you guys this. So if you take the lens off of a mirrorless camera, then you can see the sensor is right inside the camera. And we've gone with Panasonic brand just because we wanted to make sure all of our colors were staying fairly similar. If we got Canon or Nikon or Blackmagic Design, some of those sensors, they look a little bit different in the end, and the colors can be just a little bit off. So another other types of cameras, action cameras like GoPros and drones. So microphones, as we talked about, this is the most important component, I would say. If you're just using your on-camera microphone, it's, you know, maybe webcam quality. It's not going to sound amazing, but it is something. If you're listening to me right now, I'm using a Logitech C920 webcam, and you hopefully can hear me okay. But lav mics are also another thing that are really useful. And if you have a lav mic, it's meant to get as close to the source as possible. So we usually put these right here on the lapel. That way it's picking up everything that's coming through. And we're actually using wireless transmission for our audio. So we have the microphone, which the person will wear, and then we have a receiver which goes right next to the camera, so we can make sure that all the audio comes straight in. Also would invest in a good pair of headphones so you can listen in and make sure what's being recorded sounds as good as you want it to. Shotgun microphones are another thing, or if you need voiceover microphones, you can usually get those fairly cheaply. They're a USB connection to your computer. You can just have somebody sit at a desk and get good quality audio. So also, I've seen these. These are like a onboard mixer, so I can plug two separate audio sources into this, and then I have level control, so I can dial up one or dial down the other. They're really helpful if you need to get more than just one microphone source into your camera recording. And then lights, those can get really expensive if you wanted to spend money on lights. We're not quite there on lights. We usually just do whatever's the cheapest and closest. So if you have shop lights, like I said, those can work. If you have a way to diffuse a light, I'll actually show you this right now. The light I have at my desk, I just put a Kleenex over the front of it, so it's not quite as bright. It's a little bit diffused, but those are really ways that I would encourage anybody, if you're doing a shoot, if you have to figure out, okay, well, this is our problem. How are we going to get past this? It's always helpful to think in different ways. So these are traditional methods and strategies and things that they'll teach you in school if you take media production. How are you composing your shot? Which things are you putting on the left side of the frame? Use the rule of thirds, which is dividing the screen sort of into three sections, both horizontally and vertically, making sure you white balance your cameras so that the camera knows that this color is white and that color is always going to be white. Using 3-point lighting, where you have a main key light on somebody's face, you have a fill light on the other side, and then you have something from behind that's like a backlight. So there's a lot of things that I think you can use and that you can learn, but those rules, they don't always apply. So I really would just encourage you to think outside the box. And I think we have a question that I've seen as we're talking about lighting. Yeah, lighting that you probably wouldn't want to use is fluorescent lighting. They have some called like compact fluorescent lamps, or CFLs. Those take a while to heat up. They take a long time to really get bright. You usually need a lot of different bulbs. I think I've really landed on LEDs just because they can get really bright with using not very much power. Also, they don't get hot, so when you finish a shoot, you don't have to wait an hour for your lamp to cool off. If you're using a tungsten or a halogen, then those can get really hot because they really get bright. But I really do also like using not deflectors, reflectors. So if you have a sun or a bright light that you can bounce, just use a big white board and you use that. But like I said, just thinking outside the box. If it's shooting through a mirror or a window, just all the different things. There's a lot of ways that you can be creative. So when I first started at the North Carolina Museum of Art, I was mainly shooting docent programs and lectures in our auditorium with that Canon Vixia camcorder. And we would do stuff in the galleries and just want to make sure people understood what was happening. And if there was a training session that our docents missed. They wanted to have that recorded so they could see what they'd missed. And then one thing that I'll briefly go over is we did a dance-off video at the museum, and it was kind of embarrassing. All of our staff were just dancing around to a Kool and the Gang song called Celebrate. But once people sort of saw that I liked to do video stuff, I was getting a little bit more involved with exhibitions and stuff that was going on our website. So here's me filming a promotional video that we had a couple years ago. It was called Rolling Sculptures, and these were cars from the 1920s and 30s. It was really kind of interesting because a car wasn't made to just go sit in a gallery. A car was meant to be driven. It was meant to be to move. And we really wanted to show these cars in motion as they were coming off of a truck and getting rolled into the gallery. So with this camera, we also added a couple more, I call them faux pros because they were fake GoPros. I think they were only like $60 or $70 a piece, but they were small enough that we could mount them on a dashboard or on the hood of a car, and there wasn't any danger of them scratching the cars. And yeah, we shot a video. So I'm gonna let you guys see this, and just having one camera that I could handhold, and then a couple of these that we used to do time lapses. I'll show you guys what we ended up making. Okay, so these next few slides, we're going to talk about cell phones in particular. If you had to shoot something like that using a cell phone, it's so much more convenient. I actually just got a new cell phone personally a few weeks ago. It's a Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, and it was $150. It'll shoot 4K video, it'll shoot slow motion video, and I haven't used it a whole lot yet, but I'm hoping to. So if all you have is a cell phone, which most of us do in our pocket, then you can make stuff. As you can see, this image on the left, there's a monitor on the top, a shotgun mic, there's rail system, there's a cage around the camera, a really nice fluid head tripod. This person spent a lot of money putting this video camera together, but as I had said, you know, seeing people do side-by-side videos on YouTube, examples of, hey, here's a really beautiful sunset video of it, and I really can't tell the difference. So if you put a smartphone in a gimbal, this is one that we bought last year, then we have also been able to do live video conferencing from our galleries. So I'll put this on the top of a monopod and walk around, kind of like an extended selfie stick, but it has 3 motors inside the gimbal that are all sort of self-balancing. And just like this little camera that we used for the video at the beginning, Music at the Museum, I'll try and hold this close up to the camera. No matter how I move, it holds a steady shot. So that's basically what a gimbal is. I can turn it, I can tilt it up or down, and if you can throw your cell phone into one of these, then your video is going to look smooth. So here's an example of me walking down a hallway, holding my new phone as still as I possibly could, and then putting it in the gimbal and walking down the same hallway. There's clear shakiness on the right side and clear smoothness on the left side. So it's just you know, one small way to make your videos look a little bit more professional. All right, so if you do have a smartphone and you want to use that, you can modify it, you can accessorize it, you can put a microphone, a light on there. You can do whatever else you need to. Okay, some other things I want to talk about in addition to just basic video production, Chroma keying, or using a green screen, allows you to separate whatever you filmed in front of that. I'm sure you guys have seen, all the special effects in Hollywood, all these movies where action movies, they separate that. But it basically lets you change the color or change the background of whatever is green. For rolling sculpture, we shot our curator in front of a green screen, and then we could put moving public domain archive video of cars driving around behind her. We could use images of the actual cars that were in the show, and it's just one other way to make your videos a little bit more engaging. So another benefit to video is you can stretch out time, or you can speed up time. So this was our movie screen getting restored, and this was a Yayoi Kusama piece that we have in our West building getting built. It took them a full day, but hey, we just watched it in 10 seconds. It's really kind of a neat way for us to get video content very quickly into the eyes of interested viewers. So we have a video similar to this playing on a wall in our lobby that shows all of our park art. So if people who can't walk around our entire 164-acre campus, can't really see those, we wanted to make sure that they had a way to see those if they're here inside. So time lapses is just one of those types of benefits that you can get if you have an outdoor project like this one that took months to build. You can show it to somebody. Hey, this is what happened in the past few months, but just take 10-15 seconds to watch it. So again, I do enjoy watching these because you can just sort of set up time-lapse cameras, let them capture whatever it is, and then you go in to the editing floor and you just kind of, it's like fishing. You see what you got. Here's our king saw getting a conservation treatment. Okay, so the editing and review process, once you record your videos and you need to dump it into a software editor. Speaking of time lapses, this is a time lapse of one we did with Altarpiece. There was 5 different characters on this Altarpiece, and we wanted to make a Zoom, like a pretend Zoom room, and let them have sort of a discussion between themselves, even though they're all on the same panel. And this was just sped up video of what it looked like for me to go in and edit that video. So when you have the post-production benefit, there's a lot of things you can do after the fact. So there's a phrase, fix it in post, which means if you do something wrong or if you mess up, oh yeah, we'll just go and we'll fix it later. So another program that I used to create this time lapse was a software program called OBS, and it stands for Open Broadcast Software. It basically allowed me to do a screen capture of my computer. Every small little change that I did in this edit, I was able to capture the whole thing. Open Broadcast Software will also allow you to use your computer as an encoder, and then you can push that stream to YouTube. You can push that stream to Facebook or wherever. So when we do live video production here at the museum, we can use that and type in our stream key. We can get everything sent and pushed to the platform of our choice, and then using a really nifty tool. This is called a Blackmagic Design Atem Mini, and it's a 4 HDMI video switcher. So I can plug in 4 different HDMI inputs to the back. Usually it's cameras, but it can be a computer. And then I can just, select which camera I want to send to the main screen or to the program. So, for example, in this concert we did with Carolyn Colquitt, and she brought in a cellist from the North Carolina Symphony, and we had Sandra Dubose as our narrator. These might look like still images from the performance, but they are in fact not. They are single cameras that we had set up on the stage right next to, you can actually see, if I can hover my mouse over here, this is the one camera over by the piano that's giving me this shot. So this camera over here, if you can sort of see that in front of the cello, it's giving me this shot. And then we had a bunch of other cameras in the back that we used to zoom in, and I plugged in another video switcher into my 4-input HDMI switcher, so I had 7 different cameras, and this is a frame grab from each one of those. So I had 7 live video feeds, and I could just use my switcher and say, okay, I want this camera, I want this camera. I could do crossfades and sort of tell a story, but it wasn't getting recorded to my computer or to my camera's SD card. It was going straight to YouTube. So we had a live audience here in the house, in the auditorium, but we also had about 100 people watching this concert from the comfort of their own homes. So this is sort of the bonus level. This is the end credit scene where you stayed around and you get some of these free resources. If you ever do decide you want to look into investing in a new phone, or you don't have a camera yet, but you have some people who have smartphones, this website I found is really good. They're helpful in doing in-depth reviews. What cameras have what specifications? If you wanted to use your camera on your phone professionally, or you can look at frame rates or all the different settings, and they give a bunch of detailed reviews. So these resources will be made available in a spreadsheet or in a list somewhere for you. Okay, so video editing, you really can spend a lot of money. Adobe Creative Suite, I'm not sure how much it costs, but you can bypass the cost. Blackmagic Design, the same company who makes that little 4-input HDMI switcher, they have a free version of, it's called DaVinci Resolve, and it's a professional video editing software. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to register that I know of. You can just go to their website, download it, and use it. And there's a full range of professional tools to use. Color correction, if you need to, change anything. It's rather amazing that it's free software. Another free software, in case they ever start charging for that one, is one called ShotCut. It's an open source program, and it doesn't have as much overhead. There's not quite as many advanced features, but it is free. And then here's just a visual to go along with that OBS software that we've used to both record our screens and to push a stream. Another one that I was able to use some images for my presentation today is called Pixabay.com. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it allows you to search for and download with an account all free, open source, public domain, no attribution required, stills, images, vector graphics, and video clips. Another thing you might need in the future if you're scouting out a location for a video shoot, this is a cell phone app I've downloaded. It's called Locator Light. And if I wanted to see where the sun is going to be at 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon in November, I can go to that location, use my app, use my camera, and see where the sun is. It will position the sun. Oh, okay, the sun's going to be behind this building. I might not have direct light on my subject, during this, or it's just really helpful if you want to see when the sun sets or comes up. And then this last one is free music archive. So if you need some backtracks for your videos, if you want a really catchy song or audio to go along with it, you can search for those in here. Some of them do require attribution to the artist, but there's a lot of free stuff in here. YouTube usually has an audio library as well. If you have a YouTube account, you can go into your studio and listen to any kind of MP3s, download those MP3s, and use those for your projects with a perpetual license. Some of those do require attribution to the artist, but most of them don't. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm really happy to share all of my learning and gleaning whatever wisdom you may have picked up from this. I just wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share it, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of your content as you guys create stuff. Thanks.
Sorry, I had to be muted at least once so that just to make it a typical program. That was really awesome, and all of those resources that you've just provided are so helpful. Again, I always like to say that I am the target audience for these webinars as someone who, runs an association with a very small staff and budget. All of the technical information that is being provided is so helpful. So we do have a couple questions that have come in from attendees over the course of your talk. One of the first ones, it was a little bit earlier in the session, but can you talk a little bit more about using paper prototypes to develop storyboards?
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. If you don't really know what a project needs to be, but you have a team of people who are all giving input. They really want to understand, okay, what's this going to look like? How are we going to frame this? Do we need this type of shot to go along with this part in the script? That can be a big help, just to show this is the footage that I know that I've shot with this drone, and here, let me just sketch it on paper real quick to give you a feel for what this shot is going to look like. We're currently working on one right now that we're hoping to release later this year. It just sort of shows a broad range of what we've worked on, programs that we've run, footprint impact that we've had as a museum in our community. And it's, a 90-second script. So I'm shopping through that script and I'm finding, oh, this is a good video clip that I know I have somewhere on my computer that I can put in there. And when you have a whole team of people who are working to make that cohesive and fluid and just, so it's succinct and it really tells a impacting narrative, you can use those to draw it, to sketch it, to show people what we're talking about. What is this really going to look like? And if somebody gives you a script that doesn't have any real clear pictures, then okay, well, I don't know what kind of footage are we going to use here. Do we just let somebody talk from showing their face? If it's something that I know that I don't have, or I don't have permission to, like if we had our summer camp programs with our kids, if we wanted to highlight that, well, if we didn't have summer programs with our kids, or we didn't get video of that, we've got to be creative and figure out what we're going to use in its place. And that's where you can just, shoot a close-up of a kid's hand, like flipping a page in a book, or draw a close-up, get a close-up of somebody, doing a drawing, or, glue sticking something, a collage. There's ways that you can portray what's being said in the content visually, and you can connect those dots.
Well, and I'm sure that helps with the collaborative process as well, leading up to the video. And I guess, do you have a typical timeline, or what's the amount of time? Are we talking weeks, months that you prepare to shoot for one of those videos?
If it's a larger, more in-depth, and I know the quality needs to be, well made, then I usually do give it a little bit longer timeline, probably a month minimum for me to sort of, chew and ruminate on what it needs to be, if I need to go get more footage. And then I also want to build in the review process. So if there's a due date of December 1st, I'm not going to run into their office, here's the video on, November 30th. There needs to be enough back and forth. Okay, well, this is good. We like this, but let's maybe change this around. So it's sort of a working relationship. And I think if I have a lot of stuff that's on my plate, and that's where it's tricky, again, being the only person on staff who's doing this, it can be challenging working with multiple projects at the same time. And then, they're all due right here before this major exhibit goes live. So I have to manage my time pretty well.
Well, and that's why I always ask about the realities of the time that goes into this, just to kind of convey what to expect. Here's a question that I'm really curious to see how you answer it. What's the most creative thing you've seen done with a green screen?
I don't know. I think that I've seen. That's a really good question. I'm not a huge fan of green screens, even though I, gave some information on them. If you have a way for people to sort of see videos behind you, but you want that talking head, just like StreamYard, it allows us to do a picture-in-picture or side-by-side imaging. That works, and most people nowadays are used to seeing just a side-by-side frame. But if you have something that allows the subject to sort of interact with it, if they're, having something move, or throwing stuff out of a drawer, and there's like green screen person doing this, and you want to put in like an animated character or something.
Okay.
I guess that's a benefit, but I haven't seen anybody. I haven't been able to watch somebody do that. I've only, kind of been the ticket holder in the blockbuster movies. So I'm like, how did they do that? And then you go and watch, and it is kind of cool. One thing I really thought was amazing. Oh, what movie was it? Star Trek. There's a scene where they're like skydiving. They jump off this really tall tower, and they're plummeting towards Earth. All they did to film that was stood on a mirror, and they showed this. So they showed pictures of them from the ground, pointed up, and all this wind in their face, but they really just stood on a mirror and blew wind down onto them, so that it looked like the sky was behind them. And I was like, that's all they did? Wow. Okay.
Tips and tricks. I mean, that's exactly why we do these, to pull back the curtain. Here's one that comments on lighting glass enclosed objects, like in a vitrine in a museum, to remove the glare. And then in that same question, ring lights, are they really that useful? So that's a two-parter.
Yeah, we have vitrines, and just like my glasses are, if I can get them reflecting, you can't really even tell where I'm looking, because it's just white. So it's a speed bump for sure. One thing that I haven't done this yet, because I don't have the drapery and the black and the curtains to hide everything behind, but our photography department does. They'll make a black wall on the camera side of the vitrine, and then they'll shoot it that way, so that there's no light from the reflection. There's no light that's coming through. Everything is just blacked out. If you have to do that, that's an option. I've done a couple videos where I'll go and edit it all together, and then I notice, wait, there's me, and there's my hand, and there's my camera, and you really have to think about that. And if all you have is a little tiny LCD screen, you can't really tell how big that's shown up in frame. So it's fixing it in post is the thing that I usually do. But if I'm shooting a vitrine and I kind of get it from the 3/4 angle, not directly head on, then that's usually enough light deflection for me to kind of get a moving shot, or shoot through the glass as it's a little bit angled, so that I can get what's inside the vitrine, but not necessarily everything else, my light stands and somebody else's foot. The other thing about ring lights, I don't have one. I've never used one. I've only seen them, kind of the same way my glasses are reflecting light. I can see the ring lights reflected off of other things that are in frame, or whoever has a reflective surface. I think if you're shooting like on a smaller scale, in a little white box, and it needs to look good, and maybe like some macro photography or videography, you really need to zoom in and get some details. I guess they're okay, but No, I just think even the there's some lights that well, this isn't one of them, but this is an aperture light, and it has like a thing on the front where you can adjust, you can put different gels and colors to make your light diffused or whatever. It also is waterproof, so I could submerge this in water if I wanted to. I'll turn it on, but a lot of LEDs now, oh, that's not the on button. A lot of LEDs now, they have a whole row. It's like a square, and they have all these different rows of lights. It just doesn't really have a natural look, in my opinion, when you're looking at those lighting a subject, because it's just sort of all these miniature shadows. You can tell, like even street lights, the LEDs, there's a whole bunch of different little teeny tiny shadows in there. I can notice that. Some people don't notice that, but it just doesn't look natural. So the ring light, I kind of feel like it's the same sort of thing, where it doesn't look great. It doesn't look bad, and if that's all you have, I know you can get some pretty inexpensively. So I'm not against them, but I just don't prefer them.
Okay, well, we've actually got a few more questions, but we have run out of time. So I think what I'll do with those questions are to repost them in the forum that'll be on the Museum Learning Hub website, and we can, I can maybe entice you to help answer some of those questions. But thank you so much, Luke, for doing this for us. And there's a lot of really great information in today's session. So, and now I just want to sort of close us out with a few final reminders for all of those. If you enjoyed this program, then please do us a favor and share it with your network. Definitely stay tuned to the museum-hub.org for more information and upcoming events. And finally, I would like to remind everybody to please join us for the second technical training workshop for Module 7, which will focus on video planning and distribution. This session will be taught by Elena Valentine, who is the CEO and co-founder of Skill Scout in Chicago, and it will cover planning for video production, including the use of production templates, as well as the different platforms used to distribute videos. So I've enjoyed being today's host, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. And thank you all for attending today's session. Have a terrific day. Bye.